How are you, folks? Welcome to the DiPaolo Show on a Wednesday. 833-599-NICK. 833-599-NICK. 833-599-6424 if you want to join in the fun. How are you, folks? Dates real quick. You can get these at nickdip.com, where you can get everything, actually. But tomorrow night, one of my favorite comedy haunts, Governors, Levittown, Long Island, 8:30 start. Great gig. Been doing that since the early 90s, when it used to be a fucking hellhole. It will be packed, but there was no crowd control, and it was always packed. It's turned into a great gig. Tuesday, August 28th, that's next Tuesday, the Comedy Cellar in McDougal, and right around the corner the next night, August 29th on a Wednesday, Village Underground. Saturday, September 1st, the Fat Black Pussycat. Saturday, September 8th, the Fat Black Pussycat. Friday, September 14th, and Saturday, September 15th, Arlington Draft House, Arlington, Virginia. Friday, September 21st, the Orpheum Theater, Flagstaff, Arizona. Saturday, September 29th, the Fat Black Pussycat, New York. Friday, November 9th, Comics, Mohegan Sun. That's Uncasville, Connecticut. And the next night, November 10th, I'll be there too. I think it's 2 shows each night, maybe 1 on Friday. Not sure. It's a casino. It's a good gig. I shot Raw Nerve at that place. And I tried to drink with the owners, like I said yesterday. Can't do it. Guys are professionals. And man, can they slam them. Excuse me. So that's the dates. And I'm a tad cranky. Having my menstrual cycle. Apparently that's something new now. Yeah, men can have their periods. I say men or man in quotes. You guys know what I'm talking about. Put it up there. There you go. Periods are not just for women. What's the hashtag bleeding while trans? I get pulled over bleeding while trans by the cops. First of all, that's Conan O'Brien in 8th grade. I always wondered about his sexuality. But let's be honest. That's a girl, and that's a vagina. But I have a picture of me in college. That I don't have it. I didn't put it up today. But I caught the tip of my dick in my zipper at a fraternity party. And the results were the same. Can we get it straight? Yes, I know there's no differences between men and women, just socially constructed ones. It's a crock of shit. Crock of shit. I was born, as far as emotions go, like a woman having a period. Cranky as a motherfucker, right out of the womb. My tits hurt once in a while. That's usually after I do a few push-ups, because I'm 56. And I eat chocolate and pickles normally anyways. But they're trying to say men have their period because it's hormonal, and men go through these hormonal cycles where they get cranky. And yes, but not to the point. It's not as regular as, even if it was, it's not a period, okay? Look it up, please. What the fuck? And that's, you know who's pushing that shit again? That's the left who believes in science. They believe if you don't believe in climate change, you're fucking ignorant and retarded and troglodyte. They're the party of science. Yeah, when it comes to some girl pointing to her vagina going, that's a dick, we're supposed to believe them. Last time I checked, biology was the science too. So come on, cut the cucka. You girls were cursed with that. We were not. We have our own problems. Skid marks and hygiene in general and fucking hair. So, we have our own problems is all I'm saying. But yes, do I have the personality of a lesbian who's having her period around the clock? Yes, I'll agree to that. I'm a miserable, but that's because I'm from a long line of miserable fucks. I looked it up on Ancestry.com. I'm 28% British, 29% Irish, or whatever the fuck, and almost 70% miserable. Have you seen Les Mis? That was based on me when I was having my period in 5th grade. Oh, what a spectacular show. 833-599-6425. 833-599-6425. And no, you can't. Men don't have periods. They can get moody and whatnot, but that's, again, usually something triggers that. If it's not their hormones, it's, watching a playoff game and their girlfriend walks in front of the TV when somebody's trying to hit a three-pointer to end it. That'll set them on fire for the next few days. Am I right, kids? Oh, that's sexist, isn't it? No. Shut it. Although, I'll tell you, my old man, again, I got my grandfather's personality. And he was riding the cotton pony round the clock. But he had a reason to. He was born in Italy in 1885, and his dad was kind of a miserable prick. I remember hearing these stories. His dad would buy him shoes as a kid. His dad would hit him over the head with the shoes just because they cost so much. That's a true story. So, but he'd be bleeding from his scalp, not his crotch. Anyways, enough on that. I mean, Jesus, enough with the blood talk already. What's in the goddamn news? Google will now filter out negative news and tell you something good instead of negative fucking news. I forgot to play the period song.
It's been so long, but now it's finally here. As I kiss your neck, baby, what do I hear?
I'm on my period.
What? Damn. A tampon has been...
Oh, shut it. Anyways, that's how soft a society we become. Google is going to now give us positive news, which is just the fucking very notion.
They're ignorant. That's ignorant.
I agree. Google's launched a brand new feature for its artificially intelligent Google Assistant. First of all, if you have a Google Assistant, those things that you talk to, hey, how many sticks of butter in a fucking pound cake? If you have that, you're asking people to intrude on your privacy. How many sticks of butter in a pound cake? You can hear fucking, Julian Assange or somebody, or Guccifer farting in the background as they give the recipe. I don't trust the motherfuckers. But they've launched a brand new feature for its artificially intelligent Google Assistant that's designed to cheer people up by filtering negative news. Could we get any softer as a goddamn society? Simply ask your phone, right away, you crazy, or Google Home Speaker, to tell me something good. And you'll be... A lot of people doing this when they're having their period, both men and women. I'm so cranky. Tell me something good to cheer. Tell me I'm not bleeding from my crotch and I'm a man. Tell me something good. You'll be given a nice summary of positive stories about people solving real problems. These days, we're consuming more news than ever, and sometimes it can feel like there are problems out there. Well, there are, explained Ryan Burke, a creative producer at Google's Creative Lab. Somebody get Ryan some real work, please. But the fact is, there is a plethora of good news happening, and we're not talking about it. There's a plethora of good news happening, and we're not talking about unlikely animal friendships or random acts of kind. What is that? What kind of unlikely animal? I think we actually have a clip, don't we, of animal relations. That's unlikely right there. There you go. Or random acts of kindness. Can I just say this? When a plane lands safely, that's not fucking news. Do you understand that? That's not news. When a plane comes up about 1,000 yards short of the runway and 180 people die in a fiery crash, that's news. See, because millions of planes land safely every day. News comes from new. Do you realize that? 833, and there's nothing new about planes landing safely, using my argument. 833-599-6425. 833-599-6425 is the phone number. Who decides if it's a negative news? Google. Once again, Google deciding what's real news, what's fake news. Now it's what's negative, what's positive. You want me to believe that the night after Trump won the election, Google would give that to me as good news? Do you really think that they put that in the positive? It's subjective. I'm guessing if this was in place after Trump won the election, they would replace that story with something about a kitten dialing 911 and saving its owner when the house was on fire. Remember those stories? That was actually a story when I was living in L.A. It was a kitten or a dog dialed 911, which is just an outright fucking lie. Outright. Unless you have video, it's like the O.J. murders. Unless you have a fucking video, I'm not believing you. What's up, Priscilla? Oh, then sit still, will you? You're distracting me. She has no top on. We found her. She works in the Yonkers area. At night, she works for Best Buy and got a big brown ass. The stories come from a wide range of media outlets, curated and summarized by the nonpartisan, nonprofit Solutions Journalism Network organization. This must be an English column because they're spelling organization and everything else. The Z's are replaced with an S, and that bugs me. Solution journalism empowers and energizes, again, energizes, GISES, audiences, helping to combat negative news fatigue. It's important. It's an important part of a balanced news diet. First of all, now we have to have a balanced news diet. I like all my fucking news like broccoli or bitter spinach. I don't need fucking dessert for the news. It should taste like shit. It should taste like Taco Bell when you're sober. Fucking balanced. How fucking silly. Who comes up with this shit? But again, it's just another excuse. Don't miss the bigger story. Like I said, you'd never hear about Trump winning the election the next day if that was Google deciding what's positive and what's negative. They'd show you a kid being crucified at 11 years old in Tehran or something. That's about all I had to say about that. But the point being, like I said, when a plane lands safely, that's something positive. But that happens millions of times a day, so you're not going to see that. It's like black on white crime. It happens so much. It's not news. Like this clip here. Did you see this one? Which I, retweeted on Twitter. This incident with I was a student. Watch this. Apparently he had some dust on his hair. But I threw that up. I retweeted it. Somebody put with the tweet that it was a liberal going nuts, and this kid allegedly said that America, has always been great. The only time it wasn't when Obama was president. That's what whoever tweet, whatever. So I put it up there, not even believing that part of it. But fucking Twitter, so many people have swallowed the poison. You fucking idiot. You don't even know what context that was. Oh, really? My point being, I thought enough people have caught on to this by now, especially followers of mine. My point was, first of all, it doesn't matter what the context. You can't justify their behavior. And if you reverse the races in that video clip, do you think it would have made news? Do you think if that was a white woman smacking a little black kid over the head like that with a metal part of the broom, by the way, you think there would have been any context? They would have run with it, or mainstream media would have run with it on a loop for the next That was my point, and I thought enough of my followers would get that. But I didn't think it needed to be said. Just switch. I'm trying to it's a teachable moment here, as Obama said. It's funny, he came up with that. We didn't learn a fucking thing in his 8 years, other than a Marxist couldn't fucking run a country to save his life. But if you reverse the races, that's headline news on CNN, MSNBC, NBC, around the clock. That was my only goddamn point. You don't know who put that up there. You retreat but there without context. There is no context that you justify that behavior. That's all I'm saying. And the media has been cherry-picking race stories for the last 30 years, and that's why we're at each other's throat racially. That's what NBC does, ABC, CBS, New York Times, LA Times, Washington Post. They cherry-pick to create a narrative what a horrible place this is. Let me have a sip of my Kahlua/coffee/Gatorade. Oh, that's good eats. Let's go to, it says top fan, Emerson, upstate New York. Thor? I love that name, Thor.
My name is Emerson Thor. I am a top fan. I just want everybody to know that, as has been displayed on your Facebook page multiple times.
I appreciate it, Thor. Thor. Emerson.
Greetings, Captain Nick. It's good to see you at the Oyster House again on White Boy Wednesday.
What's going on?
I missed you at the last meeting.
We have...
what's it going to take for the...
Go ahead.
Do we have a delay?
Yes, we do. Go ahead, though.
All right. What's it going to take for the right to admit that the Civil War has already started?
That's exactly right. I said this a couple shows ago. If the right was 1/100th as an intolerant and treated politics like the left does as a religion, this thing would have kicked off 5 years ago. But you're absolutely right. I don't know what it's going to take. I mean, we've had cops being shot, going back to the Obama era, and it's a great question. I don't know. And I don't want to say, something happening to Trump because I don't want to put anything out there. Oh, how about Scalise getting shot on a baseball field by a fucking left-wing loon? And things like that you'd think might have touched us up.
It was obviously an accident. These things are hard to aim, even easier to fire.
I know. How come Dick Cheney with his shot? Why doesn't he wander near a Democrat softball game? Pretend he's hunting ducks, take out the pitcher. Not that I'm encouraging that. I'm just saying it's a great question.
Because the left state is on the left and the right. It's on both sides.
What is?
I guess I'm not too upset about the decision. The deep state, people are acting as though, even though Trump is on the right, that he's a true Republican, and he's really not. The deep state is on both sides, as we're finding out, and they rub it in your face when somebody on the right is arrested, but I am almost just as happy about that, unless it's on purpose because they're a conservative.
Let me ask you, you said the Republicans are part of the deep state. Which one specifically do you think? And I sort of agree with you. Which ones, Emerson, do you think specifically?
I would have to say, as much as it pains me to say this, possibly McCain, Cheney, obviously. They act as though we embraced every Republican president, and most of them are shit, just as the same is on the left side. But we do get the unfair shake because our guy is in there right now, and now we got to play defense for the next however many years because it's us over the barrel.
How do you now? What specifically, like Cheney? What did he do that you think he's part of the deep state?
Well, as soon as you say, "Oh, Afghanistan and Saudi Arabia took down the towers, we better go to war with Iraq," it just seemed from then on that it was a big fuck around.
Yeah. There was a lot of people on.
That's my personal opinion.
All right.
I just.
Yeah, no, I can see
it's
how. Go ahead.
Sorry, I know we do have the delay.
Everybody has it. Cell phones are a fucking cancer when it comes to call-ins, and but you make all good points there. As far as the Iraq war, though, nobody brings up. Thank you for the call, by the way, Emerson Thor, my top fan. I'll talk to you soon. Nobody talks about this video footage of Hillary Clinton and a bunch of leftists when we went to war in Iraq saying that Saddam had weapons of mass destruction. And again, I don't care either way what you believe, but it wasn't just people on the right. But yeah, there are some buried deep, but most of the deep staters were Obama appointees. And the original question, what's it going to take to kick off the fucking civil? I thought maybe those 5 cops getting shot that nobody talks about anymore in Dallas a couple of years ago, after the whole Black Lives Matter thing and hands up, don't shit my pants. I thought that might have done it. But here's my theory on that: the right people, they work hard, they make money, responsible, they're too comfortable, they're laying on their couches like me, watching their flat screen TVs, and the left has a bunch of young people who apparently can fucking join any rally at 10 in the morning on a Tuesday because they have nothing fucking better to do. Whatever. I wish it would kick off, though. That's all I'm saying. I wish it would, Boy, that's what I do miss. When Obama was in office, remember there was riots every other week. I used to call my friends. Look, I said, Tuesday, 8 o'clock, Ferguson. Bring the beer and the shrimp. I'll be in my recliner. It was like clockwork. But, yeah, it's actually a good question. Let's go to Nathan. He wants to talk about the positive news being a good thing. And it doesn't surprise me. Nathan's sort of a positive guy, a lot more positive than me. Nathan, how's it going, fella?
Well, hello. Good to speak to you this evening. Nick, how are you?
Pretty good, thank you.
Yes, I'd like to say hello to you and the gorgeous Priscilla, as she referenced, and I'd like to say hello to your eclectic band of internists, cardiologists, and they're recently paroled that are listening in.
Oh, I'm sensing your sarcasm, but go right ahead, Nathan.
Well, they are an eclectic bunch. Well, Nick, well, first of all, I cannot understand why you, Nick, even knowing your personality, would see a problem with Google putting on positive news as opposed to negative news, which can clearly shape people's moods and demeanor throughout the day. What's wrong with that, Nick?
Well, I think I just explained it perfectly, that it really is not news when a fireman takes a kitten out of a tree. It doesn't really affect me, but when then somebody gets run over by a truck on the West Side Highway, that is news. And I don't trust the people at Google. I think their definition of what is positive news is the complete polar opposite what I would think would be positive. Would you agree that Trump winning the election, the people that run Google, you think they would look at that as positive news?
Well, I mean, I would say no, but politics aside, Nick, wouldn't you much rather see maybe a video of someone helping an elderly woman across the street as opposed to maybe, you know, a video of one of your listeners walloping someone at the Patriots game?
Well, well, look, that's funny you say that, because anytime there's video of somebody getting walloped, it's somebody on your side of the aisle punching somebody in a Trump hat, and hey, is that your dog back there, Nathan?
Well, unfortunately, yes, I tried to quiet them down, but I have a Maltese and a poodle acting a little rambunctious right now, and it seems to be not an opportune time, but they don't. Excuse me one second. Quiet down, please. Okay.
Easy, you shouldn't yell at him like that.
Well,
but you
get a little nervous, and one of them has bowel issues.
Yeah, so does one of my interns. Listen, but that is the point, isn't it? Though the people who run Google have demonstrated that what they would consider a positive news story, and you know that's not going to get ratings, Nathan. People are going to go, oh look, an old lady crossing the street with the help of a Cub Scout. They're going to be bored out of their tits. If it bleeds, it leads.
That is the problem right there. Because, excuse me, will you please quiet down? I'm talking to Nick. That is the problem right there. You see, the problem with society loves a car crash. They love a big fight or something.
Yeah.
And it sells. So that's just unfortunate. Can I speak?
Real quick, I got a bunch of callers. Go ahead.
Okay, the woman from Connecticut that called in yesterday?
Yes, Caitlin.
Yeah, okay. Well, that woman, Caitlin, she is not representative of Connecticut. You know, she has the social nuances of a lowland gorilla flinging feces and
no racism.
She, I know she. No. Well, that's not racist. That's. But I just want to say that I'm glad she represents Connecticut, but I also do as well. And I hope you have a good rest of the evening. I love your show. You gesticulating grandiose gangster.
All right, Nathan, take it easy, pal. Fold those sweaters way on the top
Good
shelf.
night.
Those V-necks are getting wrinkled. But and don't ever call from a pet store again. I'll fucking go over there. I'll eat that dog for lunch, Larry. You hear me, Larry? Oh. I'll take one more call, and then I want to get back to the stories because I want to go on to the illegal immigrant whose attorney saying he's not illegal, yet the fucking attorney has no documents to prove that he's not illegal. The one that killed the beautiful Molly Tibbetts, and I want to get the take on that. There was a guy on named Miranda, which is hilarious, Hispanic guy. He used to be a communications director for the DNC. He was on with Tucker last night. His last name is Miranda. Even in the goddamn name, there's some type of law mentioned. But let's go to Michael in Louisiana before I move on to the stories. Hi, Michael. How are you?
How's it doing, Mr. DiPaolo? How you doing today?
I'm all right. Thank you, sir.
I just wanted to ask you, y'all in all these big cities and all these other places,
Yeah.
there's so much racism and hate and all that going on, and they act like it's all over the country, but we don't have that here. We all get along. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody does everything. But the big cities determine what happens in this whole country just because they're shit and we're not.
Yeah, well, the big cities, I see your point. I mean, most of the crime, but, you look at New Orleans, everybody goes, Nick, don't you want to go to New Orleans? I go, no, I know what it's like to be shot, and I've tasted shrimp. I don't fucking need to go to New Orleans. But you make good points. The cities, yes. I mean, because you have zillions of people living on top of each other, and but there is, you're right, on a day-to-day basis. And, you mentioned the South. I've been doing stand-up and traveling this country for years. And one of the things I did like about the South, Michael, I'd go to lunch if I'm playing a club in Atlanta. I'd go to breakfast that morning, and I would see black and white people having breakfast together and lunch and stuff. And you don't see that up here in the Northeast that much. I really, it's you make a good point as far as that. But yes, I mean, look at Chicago and the fucking hatred. Nobody ever explains. I'm guessing it's gang activity, people killing each other. But yeah, for the most part, on a day-to-day basis,
Well, I mean,
we get along pretty good.
Yeah, and we love it down here. We all get together. We have you know what a couchon de lait is?
It sounds like a dessert I had at Emerald Lagasse's restaurant.
It's like a festival. We all get together. We slaughter and roast about 4 or 5 hogs, and have hunt friends, family, friends of their family, everybody just shows up. It's a big community-wide thing.
And what do you call that, Michael?
And we have fun. It's called a couchon de lait.
Couchon as in pig roast.
Yeah, it's French.
But the problem is, a lot of
French.
Yes, but the problem is for every couchon de lait you have, there's a barbecue down there that breaks out when somebody shows up with a gun, and his cousin Tyrone shouldn't be at the party, and all hell breaks loose.
Well, that's why we. Well, I won't say that. Some people might take that the wrong way. That would kind of go against everything I just said.
No, I hear you.
But again, I just wanted to say I appreciate everything you do, and I love listening to y'all.
And Mike, you know what? Thank you so much for being a fan of the show, and we liked it. I get calls from England and Ireland. Thank you for the call, Michael, and call back, by the way. We get calls from England and Ireland, and I'm doing it from Colin Quinn's cousin's house. This show, so it's a real thrill. 833-599-NICK is the. But I get his bigger point, though. I mean, most of the crime, right? Now, again, people, you can. What do you want to blame it on? Socioeconomics or whatever? There's a million theories to go on. I think it's more cultural, but the government doesn't help. The government started fucking up when they were sending paychecks to single moms instead of having a dad in the house, and it's only got uglier from there, whether it be Baltimore, and again, a lot of the lib cities, Baltimore and Los Angeles, and I can name a bunch of them. But let's move on, shall we? Then we had this horrible story, obviously. Molly Tibbetts is that young girl who, there was a black woman on MSNBC referred to her as that girl in Iowa, which, that was pretty. She actually backpedaled in a tweet. She caught so much shit. But the illegal immigrant who killed this girl in Iowa, and talk about separating somebody from their family, huh? But anyways, Tucker Carlson had a guy on, Louis Miranda, I forget his name, but he used to be former communications director of the DNC. And even before the conversation and debate started, I'm sitting there going, watch them try to deflect this. Because I saw, do you remember when Kate Starnley got killed? Geraldo Rivera went on the Bill O'Reilly, the O'Reilly Factor, and was trying to make the point that it has nothing to do with the immigration laws. And I wanted to see if this dickhead would take the same take this. Here's the clip of.
Then we're flat out bigots and we should be quiet. Why don't Americans have a right to police their own borders and say, if you're not here legally, you have to leave now? Why don't we have that right?
Well, Tucker, I'm really glad that you're giving us the opportunity to have this discussion, because I think Democrats, Republicans, independents, immigrants, and those born here, all alike, we can agree that these heinous crimes have no place regardless of who does them. Just this week, we found out that a white man in Denver killed his wife and 2 beautiful young daughters.
There you go.
Also tragic, just as this young woman in Iowa whose death is a huge tragedy, and I can't imagine what her family's going through. So we can agree on that.
Here's the difference. I understand.
But there's a white man in Denver who doesn't speak for all white men either.
Hey, Luis, I didn't say anything about this man's race. Exactly. This story is not about race. Don't make it about race. Stop that. I was saying this is about nationality and citizenship. This man had no right to be here. That's the difference. Lots of Americans commit heinous crimes. It's terrible. We put them in prison where they should be.
Exactly.
But people who shouldn't be here in the first place. He didn't have a right to be here in the first place.
Oh,
he
that doesn't matter, Tucker.
His presence violated federal law. You and your party tell us that we're racist for wanting to enforce our own laws. It has nothing to do with race. It has everything to do with whether we think laws are real. And some
Exactly. So they're saying, and Geraldo is trying to say, there's no connection between somebody who shouldn't be here killing somebody and that somebody, okay? He brings up the white guy from Denver who's, this is about law and order and immigration law. This guy deflects it to race. There's no connection between an illegal being here and killing a woman, and no connection between him not being here and that woman not being killed. Are you fucking dog-styling me? And this is what they fucking do. And again, every story I read today referred to him as an undocumented, an undocumented worker or whatever undocumented immigrant, when he's an illegal is the word. They can't even bring themselves to fuck. That was so insulting. Turning it right into race. It's exactly what Geraldo Rivera. I should have pulled that clip. They almost choked each other out. O'Reilly lost his shit that night. And I couldn't fucking blame him. There's no connection? That girl would be alive if the fucking immigration laws are being enforced. So what are you talking about? Well, go right to... Well, there was a white man in Denver. Yes. Yeah, that's something else. But just ridiculous. Republican Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds blasted the broken immigration system as the reason why Rivera had been living near Brooklyn, Iowa for the last 4 to 7 years. They caught him, by the way. They had video of him in his black, not a Camaro or Malibu or whatever, his car. And then he got out and started to jog with her and alongside her. And by the way, people on both sides of the aisle are guilty of this one, because both sides hire these people. E-Verify doesn't work. These companies look the other way. I've read article after how it doesn't fucking work. 2013, I think it was Arizona, only 55% of the companies used E-Verify or whatever. Why? Because they want cheap labor. So both sides are to blame on this. But one side comes up with that bullshit. Well, it doesn't really matter that he was illegal. But both sides are fucking guilty. It's about commerce and getting cheap labor and shit. And I was reading about E-Verify, how expensive it is and that it doesn't work, and these people ignore it, and all the paperwork you have to go through to sign up, and they're telling you that it's easy and whatnot. But that makes me nuts. Well, it really doesn't matter if he was here illegally. Or I think O'Reilly and Geraldo were talking about a drunk driver who had killed somebody that was here illegally, and apparently there's no connection. Even though if the laws were working, he wouldn't have been there, and that person would still be alive. We should just ignore that part of the story. That's where you're being, intellectually dishonest, let's say. So, and you're also being a lying whore.
Liar, whore, and you know it.
As Iowans, we are heartbroken, we are angry, she said. We are angry that a broken immigration system allowed a predator like this to live in our community. And it also has to do with a ton with the culture. Also, Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley and Joni Ernst echoed those sentiments in a joint statement, saying, "Too many Iowans have been lost at the hands of criminals who broke our immigration laws. We cannot allow these tragedies to continue." For the last 4 years, he'd worked at Yereby Farms, and supposedly this guy who owns Yereby Farms said they use the E-Verify. which is owned by a prominent Iowa Republican family. This is what I'm talking about. In a statement, the farm said he'd been an employee in good standing and had been vetted as legal to work in the U.S. through a government system. They're claiming they used E-Verify. But, you know, the system doesn't always work either. So even when you use it. So, again, nice idea in theory, but, you know, let's make it fucking work. But you can make the laws as tough as you want. If people are going to look the other way, then you have to go after those people who employ these people. Hang them by their toes. Come up with something fucking harsh. Make them live in Mexico, the third world shithole where this guy came from. Oops, I'm just quoting the president. Don't get all over me now. Anyway, so both sides have problems. He was charged with first-degree murder and the death of Tibbetts, being held on $1 million cash-only bond. And what scares me, somebody in Mexico probably has that in their pocket. Probably a street cop. What are you saying, it's corrupt? Yeah, I've heard that. But what's the point of having E-Verify? Unless it works. And this was a follow-up on that. Yeah, he was vetted. Here you go. This is the owner of the Yerby Farms. Yerby Farms, owned by Craig Lang. In the statement, Craig's brother Dane Lang said he was shocked to hear Rivera had been charged with a crime. This individual has worked at our farms for 4 years and was vetted through the government's E-Verify system. Yerby Farms follows all laws related to verifying employees are legal to work in the U.S. Craig Lang is the former president of the Iowa Farm Bureau Federation, so I'm going to be skeptical here, too. So you people who claim that I don't pick on both sides, I don't know if I'm going to believe this guy or not. He was a 2018 Republican candidate for state secretary of agriculture, according to the Register. So, I don't know who you want to believe, folks. But the laws have to have some teeth, okay? But this notion that it has nothing to do whether he was here illegally or not, that's just a fucking insult to everybody's intelligence. And I'm glad Tucker called that guy out on it. I knew right where the guy was fucking headed, too. Yeah. How about this, folks? Former Indianapolis Colts voice Bob Lamey admitted Tuesday to using an inappropriate word after a report accused him of using a racial slur shortly before he retired.
What the hell's going on out here?
According to the local station, Jenny Runovich, a radio employee, accused Lamey of using a racial slur while he was telling a story. Lamey was telling a story about his time at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and a conversation he had with somebody there. This is him telling the story in quotes. He had asked me if the mics were off. This is an employee talking about when he was interviewing Bob Lamey. He asked me if the mics were off, and I said, yeah, I turned everything off. You're fine, the employee recalled. Bob Lamey's describing this person, saying he was asked in an interview, do you think anyone's holding back their speed at IMS during qualifying, when they qualify for races? Do you think anyone's holding back? And that person had replied, there aren't any blank in this race. That was Lamey. And that's where the racial... So Lamey was retelling a story that he was talking to this guy who said that. He's retelling a story. He didn't say it. Bob Lamey acknowledged his use of an inappropriate word in light of accusations that his use of a racial slur cost him his job. Tuesday night, to his lawyer, Lamey acknowledged that his use of an inappropriate word is what led them to the abrupt and surprising end to his 40-year run in the radio booth. Team COO Pete Ward released this statement to Indy Star on Wednesday. First and foremost, the Colts deplore and do not tolerate the use of any racial slur in any context. That's a bunch of shit. You're going to tell me the black players on the Colts don't use the N-word all the time? Any context, you just said. None of the players use that fucking word in practice or in the locker room. Oh, but it's all right because they're black. I don't buy into that theory. And I'm not trying to defend this guy, but he was retelling a story of a guy who said the racial slur. And then this guy's going to... None of your players have used that word. So in any context. I don't buy into that. There's a word that some part of the population can use and another can't. I'm sorry. And I'm not defending using that word. I'm just saying you use it at your own risk. We just did a story of a white woman on a bus in D.C. a couple days ago who, like an idiot, said that fucking word and got what was coming to her. But don't come out and say we don't allow that type of talk in any context. That's a fucking bald-faced lie. And it's called free speech. You either believe in it or you don't. And this guy, you really think he should have his 40-year career wiped out because he's retelling a story that somebody used a racial slur in? That's a little touchy, isn't it? Yeah, but he's an old crusty white guy. He gotta go, yo. So, I don't know. I find it fucking hypocritical.
You fucking hypocrite.
Yeah, I really do. Well, it's our long-standing company policy not to make public comments on personnel matters. Bob publicly acknowledged that last week. He repeated an inappropriate word when telling a story. He immediately apologized to the people who heard him use the word and then promptly retired. Bob has a long and storied history in our community, but that doesn't matter because he might have used this fucking word and we're going to kick him out anyway. But he made a serious mistake. We're deeply disappointed the incident took place and offer our sincerest regrets to all who were impacted by Bob's lapse in judgment. The original statement released by the Colts said Lamy promptly resigned, but the team later said the correct word was retired. Does it really matter now? Bob was not fired by the Colts, as some in the community have speculated. I'm sure people have a problem with that, too. Bob has been in the sports broadcasting arena for almost 44 years and is 80 years old. He's almost 80, and this is his first slip-up. I guess he said fuck on the air once, which would for me, I put him in the Broadcasting Hall of Fame. There was a guy named Don Earl for the Boston Bruins back in the 70s. And I believe he got fired. At least I was told. He used to drink in the booth. It was obvious if you listen to old Bruins. But during a game, he goes, he hit the fucking post. And he was, you got to let that go, too. But I'm just saying. So, you're going to wipe out the guy's whole leg. I would like to get the young black players on the Colts. I swear to God, to a man, they'd go, fuck it, man. We know you're old. We know you're white, you're racist or whatever. And they'd laugh it off. I really think that. I could be wrong. There might be a few people that, the jerk-offs who kneel down during the anthem with a power fist raised. They might not go for it. But they assume anyways that guys his age are racist that are white. Anyways, he apologized, and he'll be shot at noon tomorrow in downtown Indianapolis so we can all sleep much better. 40 years down the toilet because he was repeating a story. I like to... Who's the snitch that fucking snitched on him? And again, it wasn't his story. Come on. I don't care how your politics are. That's a little hypersensitive, is it? Let's go to Chris in Canada. I want to talk about illegals coming in and committing crimes. Chris, how are you? Welcome to the United States.
Hey, good evening, Nick. With reference to you were talking about the illegals, and of course the left always co-opting our language and changing it from illegal so that it has no legality anymore. Yeah. It becomes undocumented. Yeah. They do the exact same thing up here in Canada, here with our putty-headed prime minister, who basically was a drama teacher before we elected him, thanks to Obama and his election team. And here's the best of it, though, Nick. Here, now they've changed the word. It's no longer when the people come across the border, they're not undocumented now. They're called irregular immigrants. So when they break across our border from the United States and come in here and then suck the tit, it's just called irregular immigration.
Yeah. First of all, they're not all coming just from the United States, but yes, you make a regular immigrant. What does that mean? Is one leg is an inch shorter than the other? It's like buying fucking pants at Walmart. Don't they have an irregular section at, an irregular. Oh, this guy doesn't shit often. Even though he's Mexican and lives on beans and rice, he only shits twice. He's an irregular. It's, you know what? You make a great point, Chris. It starts with the language. Political correctness, by the way, is the art form of changing people's behavior through language. You can look it up, and that's what the left has been doing going back to Stalin. It starts with the language, and they crack down on, and they have speech codes and all that shit. 99% of that comes from the fucking left. So I hadn't heard that. I had never heard that irregular immigrant.
Oh, yeah. they use it all the time now. They just call it irregular immigration. And I wasn't suggesting that they're all coming from the United States. It's just it's easier to cross from the United States into Canada, so that's where the people who are coming across by land do it. And I'm wondering now with this term, so there's no legality in it anymore. It's just called irregular. So I'm going to go in the bank tomorrow, and I'm going to walk behind the counter, take all the money out, and just call it an irregular withdrawal and see if I get arrested for that.
That's exactly right. It's an irregular withdrawal. And, it all starts with the language. And Trudeau, man, he's not going to get reelected again, is he, Chris? It sounds like everybody hates him.
I live in fear that he will get reelected, but I think he may, only simply because Canada is as nutty as it's ever been. We just don't have anyone on the conservative side who has any charisma or any, they just have nothing to offer. And I just fear that he'll just get reelected by default.
Well, I'll tell you, you guys should try to elect a guy named Frank Mahovlich. He played for the Canadians in the 50s. Seemed like a real badass back then.
I was thinking more on the grounds that maybe Gump Worsley or something.
Perfect. Gump Worsley, one of the last goaltenders to never wear a mask. He looked like Curly from the Three Stooges. That guy would not fucking play. You're absolutely right. Hey, Chris, great call, buddy. Thanks for popping in from Canada. We appreciate that, man. 833-599-6425. He's right, though. I had never heard that phrase in a regular. That'll leak into our vocabulary down here or whatever. Undocumented. Yes, there's no paperwork on him because he doesn't have any. Then again, that goes back to the turn of the century. My grandparents were WAPs without papers. I find that highly offensive. A WAP without paper. Did they even have paper back then when my grandfather came over? Once again, my bladder's failing me miserably. Let's move on, shall we? Former Clinton pollster says, that's Mark Penn, the guy's name is, by the way. Hillary, otherwise known on this show as the thick-ankle dogface. Who? Hillary, the thick-ankle dogface. Mark Penn, he's a former pollster for both Bill and Hillary Clinton, has penned an op-ed in The Hill today in which he argues that Michael Cohen's guilty plea, you know Michael Cohen, right? Michael Cohen.
Fucking rat anyways. Whole family's all rats. Would have grew up to be a rat.
Fucking Trump's lawyer who rolled over like the bitch that he is. I don't even know if he says, which he argues that Michael Cohen's guilty plea shows the double standard that prosecutors have applied unfairly to Donald Trump. Again, I remind you, this is a former Clinton pollster. Penn argues that while what Trump is alleged to have done, paying Stormy Daniels for a non-disclosure agreement she had sought for 5 years prior to the election, was legal, Hillary Clinton failed to report campaign expenditures that led to the Steele dossier. If anyone broke campaign finance law, Penn argues, it was the thick-ankle dogface, not Trump. But prosecutors want Trump out of office. He says that's the big difference. And then he writes, the usual procedures here would be for the FEC to investigate complaints and sort through these murky laws to determine if these kinds of payments are personal in nature or more properly classified as a campaign expenditure. And on the Daniels payment that was made and reimbursed by Trump, it is again a question of whether that was made for personal reasons, which I'm sure it was because this shit started before he had any presidential aspirations and he was fucking married. He's trying to squash it. Just because it would be helpful to the campaign does not convert it to a campaign expenditure. And then he gives a good analogy. And by the way, I'm not saying Trump's right or wrong here because, like I said, there's some serious legal minds that have weighed in on both sides, and I'll get to that in a second. He says, think of a candidate with bad teeth. Let me think of one. I got one. Who had bad teeth? Who's a candidate there? I don't know. But he says, think of a candidate, he gives this analogy, with bad teeth who had dental work done to look better for the campaign. His campaign still could not pay for it because it's a personal expenditure. Contrast what is going on here with the treatment of the millions of dollars paid to a Democratic law firm, which in turn paid out money to political research firm Fusion GPS and Christopher Steele without listing them on any campaign expenditure form, despite crystal clear laws and regulations that the ultimate beneficiaries of the funds must be listed. This rule was even tightened recently. There is no question that hiring spies to do opposition research in Russia is a campaign expenditure, and yet no prosecutorial raids have been sprung on the law firm Fusion GPS or Steele. Reason? It does not get Trump, in quotes, get. But, again, it's hard to win. I'm not a legal expert, okay? But Dershowitz says the same thing. They're making a bigger deal than it is. But then you get this Jonathan Turley, who always seems to make sense, saying it's a bigger deal than if people aren't paying attention if they don't think it's a big deal. But again, it comes to motive. Is it personal or is it to help the campaign? So John Edwards, they brought up John Edwards. Remember he had an affair? His wife was dying of cancer. He's a good fucking guy. And his supporters sent him money to get him out of hot water. And they couldn't prove that it was to help the campaign or whatever. So he walked. So it's interesting. I'm not saying either way. I don't know. But since all this shit went down way before Trump, But then you fast forward when he is running for president and you have that conversation with Cohen that he recorded talking about paying this person off. Cohen is saying, Trump told me, let's pay these broads off, and I'm paraphrasing, to shut them up because I'm running for president, basically. So we're splitting pubes with a fine-tooth comb here. And all you need to know is this is going to be enough for the Dems if they take control of the House for the fucking leathery-nippled, insane bitch from San Francisco who will be speaker again. It's more than enough for them to try to impeach him. And then I point back to Bill Clinton, alleged rapist, and he got impeached but continued on. But you know damn well they're going to use that as one of their bullets. Don't you think? Let's go to Leo in Alaska. Politics and why you are right leaning when a lot of people think it's like wrestling. Hey, Leo.
Yeah.
What's going on?
How's it going?
What's happening?
Good. You gave me a pretty good segue there because you're talking about Bill and Hillary, and just a really good example of what I'm talking about is Trump's Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know his history in terms of his role in the Vince Foster case, but
refresh my memory. I
he was like Brett Kavanaugh worked under Ken Starr.
Yes.
During Starr's Office of the Independent Counsel investigation into Foster and other things, including Watergate and Lewinsky.
Yeah.
And Brett Kavanaugh was assigned as the lead prosecutor to investigate the Foster case.
Right.
But he actually replaced another guy named Miguel Rodriguez, who resigned, saying that there was an ongoing cover-up going on because the FBI and other people wouldn't give him evidence in the case. And he's gone on record, and you can find audio interviews of him on the radio talking about how, he thinks that there was a cover-up in the Foster death. Even Donald Trump has alluded to the Foster case as being fishy, yet the guy who is in charge of doing the Foster investigation is now the Supreme Court nominee.
But he wasn't part of the... He wasn't... the Miguel Rodriguez was appointed by George W. That's the guy you're talking about, right?
No.
No?
You're thinking of... Miguel Rodriguez is totally different than Alberto Gonzalez.
That's what you're right. That's who I was thinking of.
No. Miguel Rodriguez is little known. He's actually still a ADA in Sacramento. He is still a practicing attorney, but he's not.
Let me ask
well known.
Leo. So what's the
connection?
What are you saying? How are you connecting Kavanaugh to this current thing?
Well, there's these people that move through politics being on one side of an issue and then another side of an issue, and sort of the guys that support the status quo, like Kavanaugh, who basically covered up a crime for Clinton, keep moving up, whereas people who object to government corruption, like Rodriguez, get cast to the hinterlands.
Yeah,
and
but
so politics is really a lot like professional wrestling, where the right and left are really two sides of the same coin, and people, are getting angry about it, or like Marx. You guys are like Marx.
Okay, but hold on. Let me stop you. They don't have hardcore evidence that Kavanaugh covered up the Foster case. Where's that evidence?
There's a lot of really interesting stuff.
Yeah, online. Online? You read?
Go
ahead.
No, this is not online stuff. There's a guy named Patrick Knowlton, who is a witness in the Foster case, who was examined at the grand jury by Brett Kavanaugh. And Brett Kavanaugh, at that examination, tried to insinuate that Patrick Knowlton was a homosexual, among other things, using gay panic tactics.
Okay.
Did a lot of underhanded stuff
to
further the cover-up. And if you look into Knowlton has a website. It's called FBI Cover-Up. I actually got really into researching the Foster stuff because I find all this stuff very interesting.
All right.
And he wrote a book about it and talks about how Brett Kavanaugh was involved in making him out like a crazy guy. Because
what can I ask you? The guy that
Patrick Knowlton's important.
What's his
policy?
Look, we're getting into the weeds here. But I've given you more time. What's his politics? Patrick Knowlton, the guy that wrote the book. I'd like to know his voting record.
Knowlton was actually a liberal. He voted for Clinton in '92, and then 6 months into Clinton's first term, Vincent Foster was found dead in Fort Marcy Park. Very suspicious death. A lot of forensic evidence points to the fact that he was moved there.
I know.
And Knowlton was in the parking lot of Fort Marcy Park during 4:30 p.m. that day and didn't see Foster's car in the park, but FBI agents tried to make Knowlton say that he did see Foster's car.
All right. I get
It gets into the weeds, but I'm just saying, once you look into the details of this stuff, once you look under the hood, you realize.
Well, I do sometimes.
There's no real difference between
the
two.
I don't buy that. Thank you for the call, Leo. That was actually a great call. I'm not buying that. But politics is dirty on both sides. Okay, but it doesn't mean they're part of the same fucking team, unless you want to believe 12 guys are running the planet, like the Bilderberg group, which is the book I read. But until you can, give me hard evidence. Yes, politics is a dirty business, but Kavanaugh covered up. I watched the whole. I watched all the news. I didn't even see that on maybe on MSNBC. They might have brought it up. But you want me to believe a guy who coaches his girls' high school basketball team was a fucking altar boy, and it didn't come out on on the mainstream news. I don't believe both parties are exactly alike either. Okay? You're going to tell me Ted Cruz is the same part of the machinery that Nancy Pelosi is, and that they're the same party, and after what they did to Trump, trying to keep him from becoming president, but there was a few, yes, I know some GOPers who were never Trumpers too, and but I don't believe that they're all one team. Not quite yet. I want to get on to this real quick. That call went long, and it was a good call. Thanks, by the way. Verbally harassing cops is a threat to public safety. Somebody wrote an op-ed in the New York Post, and I know a little bit about this because I was harassed as a cop. I think we have footage.
What the fuck is this, Joey? They get a permit, Sil. Everybody, come on, let's go. Everybody! I'll remember this, Joey.
Hey, don't you fucking threaten. But the guy in the op-ed, his message is saying that they have to crack down on this. And I'm a pro-cop guy. You know that. I fucking love the cops. They're that thin blue line between us and the scumbags out there. But I don't know on this one. And you see a lot of it, them taking verbal abuse and shit. I don't know how they do it. But, and this guy says it could lead to worse things. Vulgar tirades against officers are on the rise, and cops are ignoring them based on orders sources say from on high. There's a few video shows cops doing their best not to respond to a rash of obscene barbs meant to provoke them. And I wonder how those people voted. This is where I don't believe the parties are the same and shit. Well, there are some people on the right who hate cops. Yes, and for every one on the right, there's fucking 250 on the left that vote Democrat who fucking hate cops. The same ones that want to abolish ICE. They don't fucking believe in law and order. Let's show. Here's a clip. It's about a minute long. This kid's. You know the cops they harass punks. You know who's told me that? Other cops. And let's just listen to this kid, and I can tell by his voice how he voted. Let's see how.
Because of y'all walking up on me illegally.
Okay. Hold on.
Illegally.
Let me set this up.
You did not suspect me of committing.
They were looking for a guy with a gun or whatever. So they checked his kid out, and they thought because he fit the description, he didn't have a gun. But he can't be an adult about it and go, you know what? The cops are just doing their job. He couldn't because he's not capable of that type of logic and reasoning. He's been so fucking fed so much shit over the years because he's a Hispanic guy that the cops are out to bust his. But he's so ignorant. Listen to him that he starts to go too far. Go ahead.
Up on me illegally. Illegally.
No, sir.
You did not suspect me of committing a crime. You came up to me with some bullshit ass excuse that I matched the description of somebody with a firearm. Y'all searched me, didn't find no firearm on me, and y'all detained me.
Y'all detained
you guys
me.
Took my freedom away from me for 15 minutes for no reason.
Sir?
Pause it there. Pause it there. There is a fucking reason, but you're so stupid and ignorant that you can't reason. Right? That's for no reason. No, they had a description of a guy that had a fucking firearm. You fit it. That's why they checked you out. You don't even have the fucking IQ to go, hey, the cops are just doing their job. And of course, that's how millions of people think, because the media in this country has been cherry-picking stories that make cops look like shit. For the last 30 years they've been doing it, so you wonder why. But he doesn't even... For no reason, you took my freedom away for 15 minutes. Yeah, you seem so fucking busy, too. You're living life at a breakneck pace, hanging out on the... Go ahead.
For no reason. What's the reason?
You refuse to accept that.
Because that's bullshit. That's bullshit. Y'all see me walking and y'all started eyeballing me. Y'all not low, my nigga. I know what y'all do. Y'all corny. And you know, what precinct y'all from?
72nd.
All right, you know Joshua Keylaz?
No, I do not.
You don't know who Officer Keylaz is? You don't know who that is? Y'all don't know who that is?
No.
He know who the I am. Ask him who I am.
Yeah, you're an illiterate fucking jerk.
Watch.
Okay, Chris.
Watch how I come at y'all. I live right next door to Joshua Keylaz that work for 72nd Precinct.
Josh
Watch what I
Keylaz.
do to y'all niggas. Y'all violated my rights, you cornballs. Y'all should be getting arrested right now. You lucky y'all got power. That's all y'all got.
All right, Chris.
No, suck my how about that?
Chris, I informed you again.
I don't
Suck
care.
my
I
dick.
can curse all I want. I can speak however the I want. You want to write me a summons? Write me a summons. I can talk however the I want. Suck a
Suck a dick. All right.
Suck a
There you go. Stop it right there. I can't even. It actually goes on further. And the cops, they take it. That's professionalism. And I love that we live in a country where you can try doing that in any other country, any other third world shithole, and see what the cops do. You try doing that in Mexico. So I don't want to fucking hear it that they were doing their job, and he's saying there's no reason. You took my freedom for 15 minutes. Play the second. This is a quick one, but he's still yapping at the cops.
Tell your daughter come see me to come suck this.
There you go. What's with the beeps, by the way, on the fucking internet? When I pull clips like this, again, I couldn't find it on YouTube, but that's like in the post or whatever. Well, what's with the bleeping? The internet's like fucking ABC at 8 o'clock.
You'd think something like the Post wouldn't have beeps.
What's that mean, asshole?
I don't know. Tabloids, stuff like that.
Oh, it's
Words.
tabloid? As
Words.
opposed to the what? New York Times?
What? Oh, no, it's just the nature of what the Post... Like, the Daily News would probably wouldn't bleep it either. Because just how those kinds of publications operate.
I don't know. Are you comparing the Daily Times and the Post? I have to disagree with that. But yes, I get your drift. If a paper would do it. But, the New York Times gives away military secrets. And they hire people who plagiarize. So, but they don't get labeled. Your mother would be proud of me right now. My point is, the cops show tremendous restraint, which is not what you hear. From what you hear about the cops, they would have beat him silly and blah, 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 blah. And I'm sort of, hey, this is the country we live in. But this guy's point is that, because this stuff goes viral and shit, it encourages more, which is some truth to that, too. He says disrespecting the men and women who protect the public is unhealthy on a broader scale. Mayor Bill de Blasio denounced the incitement Monday. That's not enough. Not one. So de Blasio is saying, that this shouldn't happen with the cops and shit. But like this guy says, he says that's not enough, Mayor, when you've signed a spate of laws that aim to handcuff cops and second guess their actions. And even says he told his son to beware of dealing with the cops. And that's how this attitude takes hold. Remember when he told his son, beware of dealing, because his son's black and has an afro, so be careful of the cops. And then he comes out and wonders where this comes from. In a post column, Police Commissioner James O'Neill calls the idea of an NYPD hands-off policy nonsense, because remember, the guy that wrote the article says it's coming from on high. He says nonsense. Rather, he trusts, in quotes, his officers to make split-second decisions and take enforcement action when appropriate. Yet the videos clearly show police hesitating in the face of abuse. But if they, and I guess you got a point, but if they responded to this and any other, finally, I don't have the clip at the end, a cop comes up to and says to the guy, if you keep it up, there's something called disorderly conduct, But if the cops responded, especially in New York City, in big cities, every time they were verbally abused, even at those rallies, you see people from Antifa spitting in their face and shit. If they responded, then all hell would break loose. Maybe that's what we need. Like they said in The Godfather, every 10 years, these wars happen. We have to get out the bad blood. Maybe you got to lance it like a boil. But I'm just saying, contrast what you hear about the cops' reputation and how they hassle minorities, but you never see much of this, what they go through when they're being spit at and stuff. And I think they showed just the right amount of restraint, because like I said, if they started arresting people every time they were verbally abused, fucking ISIS would be setting up shop. Who knows if they're not, while they're filling out paperwork for this shit. And de Blasio coming out, that's insightful and stuff. Yeah, well, you set the tone, stupid. Anyways, that's about it. That is enough, I think. Excuse me, Priscilla, you think we do more? Oh, yeah? Do you? All right. Do you guys, this J.J. Redick, basketball player? I remember him in college. He's a 76er. Well, he hosts a podcast with Orlando Magic rookie Mo Bamba this week. They say if you turned in for the first 9 minutes of the show, you would have thought it was a crime show. I'm just going to read you this article. Very interesting. That's because Redick decided to share a story of a recent car ride in Brooklyn, where he did a photo shoot for Mr. Porter, a men's fashion company. What began as a standard recollection of life as a celebrity in the Big Apple quickly descended into a dark mystery that may or may not have included a child abduction. And all of it, Redick says, is true. This is nonfiction, he says before beginning. I did not make this up. As Redick tells it, the story begins with a clothing company providing Redick and his wife, Chelsea, and her twin sister, Kylie, a ride back from an apartment where the photo shoot took place. All three put their bags into a bucket seat Escalade, despite the car smelling kind of weird. And before long, Chelsea, pale as a ghost, whispers to Redick that there's a person in the back. At that point, Redick says he noticed a blanket, a big blanket, and then a cage or box in the trunk of the car with clearly something underneath the blanket. After asking the driver to pull over, all three exited the vehicle. Redick says he then saw the blanket move and ultimately had the driver check for himself. Because it's New York City, you don't know, Redick says. I don't know what this is. Is it a python? Is it a robber? I don't know. The driver then lifted the blanket, except he did it towards the window, so we couldn't see because we were on the sidewalk, according to Redick. And as the driver walks back to the front seat, assuring his passengers there's nothing in the trunk, a head pops up. Only in fucking Brooklyn. He says, "This is not funny," Redick explains after Bamba, his guest, laughs. There's a back of a female head, blonde hair, there's a ponytail, and based on the size of the boxer cage that this person is in, it's either like a very small human or a child. The driver then left them on the sidewalk, per Redick, who then confirmed with his sister-in-law what he saw. From there, the trio called both the car agency and the police. I was very explicit that he was harboring some sort of female under a blanket in a cage or a box in his trunk, Reddick said, admitting that he still gets goosebumps because of how disturbing the situation was, even though it occurred less than 24 hours before he recorded his podcast on Thursday. Since then, Reddick says his wife has called the FBI tip line and opened a claim because it was a human being in the back seat of his car and definitely not a dog. In the meantime, he's theorized that the driver was transporting a sister, cousin, wife, or girlfriend who, in quotes, needed a ride across town and just didn't want to pay for an Uber or taxi, or it could have been something far worse. Well, that doesn't explain the smell. Was it her feet? And I don't get that. If it's a relative he's transporting that doesn't want to pay, why would you hide her? This is my cousin. Cousin? I just said cousin with a past tense. That's why I wanted to stop the show 5 minutes ago. I've lost my fucking mind. But why would you have to lie about that? I mean, what are you talking about? I don't even get that theory. I would have immediately jumped on the horn to the cops. How creepy is that? Between this and the Uber stories, I'm glad I drive in the city. Every time I pick up the paper, some woman's being molested by an Uber driver, or this might be a body in the, But the head popped up, which means it was still alive. I'm guessing the smell was probably from the cologne of the guy driving. You ever get in a cab in New York in the summertime? It's like you have a piece of shit on your upper lip. True story. I first moved to New York. The cab driver stunk so bad I looked at his license. He was holding his nose in the picture. That's a true story, ladies and gentlemen. But how creepy is that? So I want to know how this turns out. I guess you'll have to tune in tomorrow to find out. But Jesus, as soon as you see that, do you not jump on the horn? Very creepy. Anyways. That's about it. Let me take one more call. Joe, Long Island. Catch the story in New Mexico training kids to shoot up schools. Yes, that was last week, and they go ahead, Joe. I know they broke up the training facility.
I know it's an old story.
Go ahead.
But it's an older story. But it kind of just goes to your point of the cherry picking. Because did you see the guys' names and faces?
Of course not.
Exactly. Because if it was me who fucking did it, it would be all over the fucking news, and you know everything about me.
Oh hell yeah!
33-year-old white male. I mean, what the fuck?
You would
the guy's last name had like 3 fucking hyphens in it.
Well,
and they don't mention a thing.
The old man, the guy running it's old man was like working with one of the 9/11 pilots, or had a connection to him. Yeah. So, anyways, all right, Joe, I gotta go. Thank you, buddy. Thanks for the call. That is it. I want to find out what happened. If the FBI looked into this. This is the thing. These stories in the big cities, they come and they go. But a weird smell and a ponytail and a blanket over a person in a cage. Maybe it came with the Escalade. It's a new type of thing. It's a seat for your kids when they're misbehaving. I don't know. Anyways, that's it, folks. Tomorrow night, Governors, Levittown, Long Island, 8:30. We'd love to see you guys there. Again, this show streams live on Facebook today and YouTube.
We'll do it live. Fuck it.
Watch it, nickdip.com, and you probably are as I'm mentioning it. That's it. Remember, you guys think it. I will say it with my $6 tie. You're welcome. We'll catch you tomorrow.